So let's get into our key points for today's chapter, shall we? Is that all right? Is that all right? I don't know, but I know what happened to me, girl. All right. All right, here we go. Key points. These are the key points that I lifted up from this this reading. But if you have lifted up your own and want to share them, please drop them in the chat. But before I get into the key points that y'all have been watching the entire time I've been reading, take a look at today's discussion questions. Of course, you already know what's coming up for you. That's question number one. And then my next question for you is, are you willing to examine your meanings if it could lead to your liberation? And we're going to get into what that means as we get into more of the key points. But he talked a lot about preconceived notions. So when I talk about meaning, that's what I mean. That's what I mean when he says preconceived notions. And the next question, identify some things that you may approach with resistance. Consider certain topics of conversation, circumstances, work, people, etc. And the fourth question, consider something currently happening in your life that you would like to be different. Where might the gift be in that? So, in that circumstance, where may the gift be for you to find in that present moment? So let's jump into our. I went back too far. Let's jump into today's key points. Spirituality. What? Is it me? Do I not know how to work the slideshow no more? Okay. All right. Spirituality is learning to live without fear, stress, and worry. Stress is experienced through the act of resistance. And we can't resist things that have already happened. What we are resisting is the energy. We're resisting energetically by not allowing energy to pass through us. Is religion so this book talks about spirituality. My question is religion and spirituality, are they synonymous? That's what I'm asking here as I process what the notes I'm taking, right? So when I asked myself that question, I went to go look the words up. Let's start with what the books say. So from Oxford Online, religion is a particular system of faith and worship. As a plural noun, that word is religions with an S on the end. You can use that in the context of the world's great religions, as in systems of faith and worship. Religion is also defined as a pursuit or interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. And the context given there is consumerism is the new religion. So now we see how we can use the word religion in non-spiritual context. So that's why the question is, are religion and spirituality synonymous? I don't think so. But I'm up for discussing it, but I don't think so. In this example, we see how anything that is given a lot of energy and is ascribed supreme importance can be considered a religion, like consumerism. So I would go so far as to say maybe we could put sports in that category as a religious kind of thing. People follow sports religiously, and people do things for sports that they may not do for their religion. So I don't think they're the same thing. I think there are elements of spirituality within a religion. And from my experience, I can say that there can be religious groups of people who don't live spiritually, or they do live spiritually, but they use their spiritual power in wicked ways. Now, that's my experience. Tell me about yours. This part about we can't resist things that have already happened. The reason why that's so interesting to me is because that really happens very fast. And the example that singer gave, he says someone says or does something that we don't like, and depending on and what when we experience that, what we're experiencing in the moment is not what happened, what that person said, but we're experiencing the energy that that person triggered. So when it happens, sometimes it's like, depending on what level of awareness we are at in the moment, we might want to clap back to get them to take it back. Energetically, what we're doing is we're trying to resist that energy from flowing through us, and we're also attempting to give it right back to them. You ever you ever be like in an argument or like a tense conversation with your bae, significant other, or however you want to call it, and then like one person says something and someone says something, and it's kind of like a little back and forth kind of thing, and then like there's nothing, and it's like, I'm not mad, I don't think they're mad anymore, but like the energy is just weird now. Yeah, because we've been taking this nasty energy that neither one of us wanted to feel, and playing catch with it. This is a challenge, especially if you grew up feeling like you had to be on the defense, or feeling like you were in a position to need to defend your power, or feeling like someone's always out to get you, or that you're not being thought about, or that you're not cared for. If you live in or grew up in an aggressive environment, hello, welcome to West Philadelphia, born and raised. You see what I'm saying? Like, Philly is a hard place. And I developed a harder exterior persona as a result of having grown up here that I may not have developed had I grown up somewhere differently. You know what I'm saying? I grew up here feeling like I had to defend myself all the time. I have a sensitive soul, a sweet spirit, and Philly is like not open and forgiving and welcoming to that. But either, it doesn't matter. I got to a place where I stopped feeling like I had to defend myself for every little thing, with the help of modalities like yoga, which I'm about to head to in a moment, meditation, human design, and body talk. I don't think I've talked to y'all about body talk before, but that's super deep. It's a very deep practice. I don't want to scare y'all. Lord have mercy. Y'all know how y'all get. It's like, no. Are y'all scared? Don't be. What is Juice talking about? He says, I agree with the sports comment. When I went to church, they stressed on not idolizing people, like having, posters and following their career, kind of like the way you're supposed to follow Jesus. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that perspective. Thank you. So let's keep going. Let's move on to the next key point. I'm gonna be late for yoga, but it's cool because I love y'all. And I want to finish our discussion. Resistance is an energetic drain, influencing people to use the will to resist the past or future. So, one of the EFT practitioners that I listen to, one thing that she says is, well, that happened. Now, where is the gift in it? Big shout out to Ruthie Cohen Joyner. She's an EFT practitioner, and that's something that she offers to her clients and students, and just herself, even in general, like when shit happens. Well, that happened. Now, where's the gift in it? Because remember, y'all, we're still in the present moment, so there has to be a gift in it. And you got to unwrap it sometimes, just like in the physical world. When you get presents, they're covered up because you want to be like, surprise. So you have to unwrap the gift sometimes. You have to go deeper within and pull it back out. Sometimes you have to be willing to cut all the other stuff out so you can really see, like, okay, yeah, this is a shitty situation, but there's got to be something in here for me, and figure it out. So she says that, and I feel like that's so profound just because of that. You know, the present is the gift. And I know that sometimes we don't always like the presents we receive. So I want to address that, because it's like, okay, city, for sure, I'll play your game. I'll search for this gift that you say is there. But like, that ain't what I asked for. I got you. I remember sometimes, like back in the day in childhood, like I got, okay. Sometimes we get sweaters or books, things that we don't really like because we want toys. We want that bike. And in the moment, it's like, that's just disappointing. I would like a bike. I would like that toy. But and the truth is that that sweater might come in handy one day when it's cold. And that book might have some information in there that you needed to know. So that doesn't mean that there is no benefit to receiving that gift in the present moment. It just meant that we were not at the level of awareness to accept it for the gift that it was. There is, when I was a child, I was gifted a board game called Labyrinth that I did not play because there were images within the game, like on the game board, that kind of like were creepy to me and made my skin crawl. So I didn't play the game. When I remembered this whole, spiritual journey, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience type vibe. When I got back into that, something I was reading or watching brought this game back up. Lo and behold, this game is deep as you know what. Like, this game is so deep. It was given to me as a child when I was like 9, and it like has esoteric messages in it. I would love to play that game right now. I would love to know, if I had played that game at that time when I got it, what it would made me like, in what way would it have shaped my mind and how I was thinking about what was going on. But I was too resistant of what was making my skin crawl, and I was like, man, F that corny game. I don't want to play that game. There is always a gift in the present moment. We just may need to search for it. So I just wanted to share that. And if anyone has that game, and wants to play with me, let me know. Let me see what Wavy said. I agree with you, City, with the upbringing part. Be more definitely had made me build a tough skin. I had to learn how to let my wall down to be more accepting of people's energies who are deserving. And it's so key. Accepting of who, and it's got to be deserving of, you have to, you're not for everybody and everyone's not for you. So thank you for lifting that up, Wavy. I appreciate that. He gonna say shout out to West Philly. Choose. You're funny. Thank you for that shout out, though. We appreciate you. We appreciate that shout. I have so many examples of this. Food is another one. Have you ever been in a situation where, like, there is food in your kitchen, but you pick up the phone and dial up Uber Eats or Grubhub anyway, because maybe the food that is present here is not what you might want in that moment, or maybe you don't feel like getting up to cook it or whatever, right? But what would be the gift in eating what's present? What would be the gift in eating what's present? I can think of a couple. Saving some money, preparing something that's more nutritious, where you know exactly where all the ingredients came from. Nurturing yourself with your own cooking is another benefit of that. Practicing your cooking. There are so many gifts in that situation if we choose to seek them. Yep. All the time. I don't do it as much anymore, but I used to do it all the time as well. We have another key points board. So we can examine the ways we resist examining our preconceived notions, and that aka meanings. Singer says preconceived notions. City says meanings. We all have a different meaning about things. And meaning to me is the same thing as a preconceived notion. Always go back to that example of someone might be smelling, getting a whiff of the aroma of someone cooking a certain type of dish. And for some people, that aroma may remind them of positivity, family, good times around the table. And for other people, it may not remind them of positivity, good times around the table. It may remind them of not having food. You know what I'm saying? So meanings are very important. They don't mean the same thing to everybody. It's definitely important to get very clear about what your meanings are, period. And then consider how you're going to go partner up with people, because now you're combining meanings. That's a different conversation. I don't want to get too deep into that, but y'all know why I'm saying that. Everything does not mean the same thing to every person. Yeah, I already said that. This is a real true story though. Sometimes when I smell someone cooking a soul food meal, it does bring up feelings in me that are connected to childhood. And even though I did not grow up in a household that cooked that way, my mom didn't cook that way. However, I was exposed to other households that cooked that way, and I remember it fondly. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel warm. But everybody didn't grow up like that. And so some people, when they start to smell food frying, it's a problem. I was at my homie's home a couple months ago, and she started to fry. She was making a stir fry, and we were there. And when the stir fry started to do its thing, somebody went to open windows and began to fan and say, "We don't want the neighbors to smell this." And in my mind, I was like, this is a Philly row home. All the neighbors smell everything. Then I had to remember that there are people who live in Philly now who didn't grow up here. It's a gentrified city now, and there are some people who grew up here who are living in row homes who never did before. So their mentality about, it's just different. It's a different meaning. That's all. Let's talk about it. Let's have a real authentic conversation about our meanings, y'all. Because it's nothing to be blamed or shameful or feel guilty or embarrassed about. It's for us to talk about them so that I can know who you uniquely are. You gonna know who I am uniquely, and then we can be better from that place. You feel me, Juice? That's crazy, right? Literally, that's what happened. Not resisting the energy flow is not the same. Y'all saw I had to read this part twice. Not resisting the energy flow is not the same as not dealing with our emotions. I don't want anyone to think that I am deflecting when I say, like, we're not deflecting. We're not saying that we're not allowing these things to pass through us. We're saying that we're not going to let them get stuck. We're going to let the energy pass through, feel the feelings. It sucks. It hurts. It's uncomfortable. Yuck. And then once that's over, we're going to go back and deal with the shit. That's what we're saying. Yoga helps me to do it. Whatever if I can do it, my yoga practice has deepened so much. I'm so proud of myself with that. I used to cry and whimper in yoga when the pose would be too hard. And I'd be trying to get there and realizing that I can't hold the pose. And it would be so discouraging. And I'm like, but it's just you on the mat. What are you discouraged for? It's you against you. Like, getting myself into that zone on the mat allows me to practice that lifestyle and that mentality and that emotional compass off the mat. So I had different feelings about relationships in the past, feeling like monogamy was the only way that I could feel safe or secure in relationships. This is related to working with our fears and desires, to getting a whole this last point, working with our fears and desires so that we can get to a point of release. One thing I used to hold on to or cling to or resist, I would resist the idea of like non-monogamy, right? because I feel like the best thing for me to do to feel secure in them would be to have a monogamous relationship. But the truth is that when I did my own self-examination, and examine my own meanings, it allows me to know that that's actually not my truth. That's not my truth. I'm not going to get into relationships and claim something that ends up not being my truth, and then end up in like monogamy, and then end up in a compromising situation where no one's happy. So I first got clear with who I am, with myself, what I desire, and then knowing that I can fully embody who I am, embody my own frequency, and not be ashamed of that, and not push it to the shadows because other people are like, monogamy is the only way for me. That's great for you, but it does not work for me. I used to feel ashamed of that. But when you feel ashamed of something, you hide parts of yourself, and then you start doing sneaky shit on the side because you're trying to feel like you. So I'm not doing that ever anymore. When I push it to the shadows, it emerges as a cheater. That's crazy, right? But that's what happens. And that right there is shadow work in real time, family. That's what it is. That's how you do it. You know what I'm saying? So now that I'm comfortable with who I am, and I'm not in a space of conforming to normalcy or judging parts of myself that don't resonate with that, I can attract those who are on a similar frequency. I can be confident. I can share what I'm about and allow people to their own freedom to make a choice about if they want to proceed with me or not. Ain't no sweat off my back. It is what it is. It's in allowing energy to flow that we can get to the core of our emotions and then deal with them from a true place. And deal with what's in front of you in the present. Deal with reality, not as the meanings, not as the preconceived notions. So those are my key points, family, for today. And again, our discussion questions are right here. What's coming up for you? Are you willing to examine your meanings? If it could lead to your liberation, there's a typo. I'll fix that later. Identify some things that you may approach with resistance. Consider topics like relationships, money, whatever. Think about things like that, family, things like that. And consider something currently happening in your life that you would like to be different. Where might the gift be in that experience? Okay? Thank you all so much for today's discussion. It was a lot of fun. If you like what you have seen here, if you like what you heard here, and if it resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who may need to hear it. Thank you so much.